Hello everyone, my name is Tabby and welcome back to my channel Keeping Tabs, where today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. I recently read this in, when did I even read it? September, and I loved it so much. If you saw my wrap-up then you'd know, but I thought I would do a spoiler-free review to let people know what this book is about if you are skeptical or think it's too cheesy or whatever, or if you've been curious like me for so long and you need that extra push, I got you. Let's start with the world. In this world, vampires exist, but humans are completely unaware of them. Vampires, however, are not made. Humans cannot become vampires. Vampires are born. And I really love the way J.R. Ward made her vampires. Vampires do not drink blood from humans. They drink blood from other vampires of the opposite sex. And they only need to drink blood once every few months. Other than that, they eat food and they need food to survive. These vampires also don't become fully fledged vampires until they reach their mid-20s. And at that point, they go through this transition, which is a painful process. Does not sound very fun at all. And in that process, they physically transform, like their appearance transforms. They become like bigger and stronger and just more beautiful. You know, the classic vampire trope that vampires are just beautiful, like that's what happens. But up until their mid-20s, these vampires are pretty much human. They can walk in the sun, they don't need to drink blood, they are just regular. However, if you are a half human and half vampire, then it is very risky for you to go through this transition, because you are still going to go through the transition when you hit the mid-20s mark. But because you're not a full vampire, it's very possible that the half human, half vampire won't be strong enough to go through that transition, and they are very likely to die. It's a 50-50 chance they'll die. Unless they are given the blood from a very strong vampire that has a very strong bloodline, they might not make it. And even with that very strong blood, they still might not make it. There's also this really interesting hierarchy of vampires that J.R. Ward created in here, where there's like the royal vampires that come from old bloodlines that are really strong, and then there's like regular vampires, and then there are this like subcategory of vampires that are like servant vampires, and they're called the Dojin or the Doggin, but I say Dojin, I don't know. If you've read the book, like, how do you pronounce that? Anyways, they are just servants, and they only live to 500 years, which apparently is a really short lifespan. And they live to serve. They love to serve, and they feel like they're not living their potential if they're not serving a vampire family. And of course, there is the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and this brotherhood was formed to fight the Lessening Society. And the Lessening Society is a group of humans who have lost their soul, who have not sold their soul, but willingly gave up their soul to become vampire fighters, and they dedicate their lives to ridding the world of vampires. And what's really interesting about the Lessening Society is that as time goes by, they lose their color in their hair, so their hair becomes white and their skin is very pale, and they have this baby powder sent to them. And I just think that was very interesting, a very interesting addition to the story. So what is this story actually about? Well, it follows Wrath, who is the reluctant king of the vampires. He does not act very kingly at all, and he does not lead his people. He doesn't really care to. He just lives his own life, but he is a king. He's also the leader of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. One night, Wrath is asked by his friend and fellow brother Darius if he could watch and protect Darius's daughter, who is 25 and is half human and does not know that she's half vampire. She does not know vampires exist. She does not know who her father is. She does not know Darius, but Darius has been watching her through her whole life, and she's hitting that point where she's about to go through the transition, and he's scared that she's not going to make it. Because like I said, she's half and half, and it's very likely that she won't make it through the process, and he wants his daughter to live, obviously. Because Wrath is the king, he comes from a very old and strong bloodline that might help Darius's daughter go through the transition successfully. And of course, Wrath is reluctant. He's reluctant to like anything that is important, so he's like, I don't want to, blah, 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 blah. But then Darius is suddenly killed in like the first chapter. He's killed, so that's not a spoiler. He's suddenly killed, and Wrath is distraught because that's his fellow brother. They've known each other for centuries. They are vampires. and so he feels this duty to fulfill his friend's dying wish and goes and looks for his daughter. This story also follows Beth, who is a 25-year-old reporter living an average everyday life. She feels like something's missing in her life, like she's stuck in this never-ending cycle. She's never been physically attracted to anybody. She's just kind of there, and she's kind of getting over that feeling of like not being important and not achieving anything great. She's a reporter, but she's not the best reporter, she's just a reporter. Beth is also about to go through a transition. And if you haven't guessed, Beth is Darius's daughter. She's unaware of the vampire world, as are all humans. She doesn't know who her father is, and so she meets Wrath, and things happen, and it's great. Let's talk about the characters real quick. There's nothing really to talk about. They're pretty typical in a romance novel. We have Wrath, who is your standard alpha male. He gets very protective, and yeah, he's an alpha male, and I like him. Oh, I also really like the fact that he's blind. I love that, because he's not completely blind, but for the most part, he is blind. He can't see very well, and I thought that was very cool to add that in. Then we have Beth, who is the headstrong female who falls for this alpha male, and there's really nothing like that stands out about her. Then you have Butch, who is one of my favorite characters. He is a cop, he's human, and he works a lot with Beth because she is a reporter, so she likes to be on scene, and he's always there, so he also kind of has a thing for her. Butch is trying to solve a series of murders that are happening around town, and unbeknownst to him, they are connected to the vampires and the Lessening Society, and because Beth starts getting in with that crowd, he starts worrying about her because these people he's suspecting of being involved with the murder, and so he's obviously like protective of her. And it's just very interesting, and I really, really like Butch and his backstory and his motives and just everything. He's my favorite, and I know he gets a book, and I just cannot wait for that book. Then you have all of the other brothers in the Brotherhood. You have Zadist, Rage, Fury, who else? Vicious, Torment, and their names, I love their names. They're all synonymous with like anger and rage and violence, and I love it. And throughout the book, you get hints about their backstory, and they all have really interesting backstories and character traits and histories, and you just know that the other books are going to be about them, and they're going to unfold more of their stories, and I'm so excited because some of them have really interesting things going on, and I need to know about them. I really like the sense of camaraderie that you get from the Brotherhood. It reminds me a lot of the Inner Circle and the Illyrians from Sarah J. Maas's book, the Court of Thorns and Roses books, and I just love the camaraderie from the Inner Circle and that series. I love it, so I loved it in here, and it's great. They don't hold back when they're fighting, you know, they will yell at each other, they will beat each other up, but then they also love each other and they'll protect each other, and it's just, I love them. And let's talk about the writing. The writing is very basic. You're not going to find any profound quotes. You're not going to find any life-altering metaphors for things. You're going to find a lot of alpha males. You're going to find a lot of testosterone. You're going to find a lot of vampires wearing leather, listening to 90s rap music. You're going to find a lot of mentions of male and female, like you do in Sarah J. Maas's books, a lot of mentions of mating, and a lot of smut. So if those things sound great to you, you're going to love this book. Overall, I gave this book 5 stars purely from enjoyment because it's such a fast-paced read. It's so fun, and there's a lot of comedic relief in here, actually, and I just loved it. This is junk food. This is junk food. Junk food isn't good for you, but you eat it anyways because you love it. You know what I mean? It's just good. Maybe on a critical level, I'd give it like a 3 stars because I feel like there are a lot of problematic things in here that people wouldn't like, but I don't really care about problematic stuff. I mean, I care about it, but I mean, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't really do much to me. So, overall, if you're looking for an urban fantasy adult romance book to read, I recommend this series because it doesn't really end on a cliffhanger. It doesn't end in a way that makes you want to pick up the next book, that makes you feel like you need to read the next book. So even if you only wanted to read the one, you could read the one and be satisfied. Or you can read all of them, which is something I plan on doing because that's how much I loved this first book. that is all I have for you guys for this spoiler-free review. Let me know if you're interested in reading this, and I really hope that you do. And if you do, please talk to me because I love this book so much. So much. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Bye!